In this video, I'm going to turn to the word study of rod out of the New Testament after having gone through the word study of rod in the Old Testament. And of course, this comes by way of the irony / uniqueness of my name being Rod. Here I've opened up to the word study of rod as per Greek word study. As you can see, it's a personal name rather than a tool or a variation to different meanings. A little bridge between the Old Testament and New Testament differences in the word rod. Um, Rod in the Old Testament was a tool that God chose to make use of as to illustrate the blessings compared to the curse of the difference between obedience and disobedience, and how he called his people by way of a covenant to obey him. And as they as they did, they were blessed, and as they didn't, they were cursed. And one of the curses was that God divorced Israel, and part of that came by way of the absurdity of the wisest man in all of creation was Solomon, that had 700 wives, and greatly contributed to um, the temple being destroyed, and the Holy of Holies being robbed of the commandments and the rod that was inside the Holy of Holies. And um, ultimately, there came a understanding of it's not inherently a curse to extend that over to Christ addressing the temple, Christ addressing the rod that uh, was robbed, and all that came to the understanding of how to look at the New Testament rod. One of the unique details of this word study comes by way of Christ sending the apostles out to minister um, on his behalf, on Christ's behalf, to the need of, and in doing so, he asked all the disciples to have faith that God will provide, and not take anything with them, except Mark was asked to take a staff. And a staff is a measure of authority, and the measure of authority became sometimes I see uniqueness in the clarity and quality of Mark, such as uh, Mark 10, verse 11 and 12. Um, Divorce and remarriage is adultery. Any questions? Another uniqueness is that um, by the time you get to Christ quote, uh, it's a Christ quote out of Revelation 2, which means that it was revealed to John the Revelator uh, after Christ's death. And so, and yet this verse is meaningfully before his second coming. And this verse is in the midst of judgment of man. Both of these verses have context to that is almost as meaningful as the word study. But before I open these up further, I want to say uh, if I were the king of the world, I tell you what I'd do. I would look closer to the nature of this word being built upon two separate words like Rod versus Rob, and 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 I dare clarify that there's a reason to say, well, the rod was robbed out of the Holy of Holies and never given back, as far as anybody knows. Um, so, is there a reason to look at the rod being robbed? I can't find a definer of credibility that will put those two words together, but I will in seeing the pondering reasoning behind it. In fact, there's so much reasoning to looking to the word rob inside rod that that at Christ's arrest, which is Mark 14, verse 48, I see Jesus at his arrest asking, uh, "Have you come out to uh, to address me as a robber?" And to me, that's meant to be a calling, a life journey that a person could continually ask self-willed self, is Christ a robber, or is he actually looking to bless me? So while I acknowledge that Christ asked the question, I could ask my own self, um, have I robbed my own self? Uh, and how have I robbed my own self? Am I looking to give a proper account, or am I looking for excuses of how to point fingers, even at Christ? But I'll tell you, the nature of my natural man wants to um, acknowledge that I shouldn't be pointing fingers at God or Christ. But but boy, do I look for other people to point fingers at, and that's especially true of my wife slash ex and our marriage. As I look closer to Thayer's definitions, really I have to look at Christ's definition first in context. And in context, the Revelation 2:27 emphasizes, uh, and he will shepherd them with a rod of iron. As I open the word generalized to shepherd, I can't help but see a uniqueness inside of it. And here's the specific quote out of Revelation 2, verse 27. Uniquely, the letter V and the letter N often are interchangeable. And so this part of the word means generally where to. And of course, the where to is a question of how to look to Christ through the Holy Spirit to ask where He would have you to shepherd people to, um, uh, how to shepherd them, how to reach souls effectively, um, reaching into their spirit and helping them align with God through Christ. And quite frankly, this is the word if. So that's where to, but only if they're open to hearing your counsel. Um, and this word right here is man. Literally, in Genesis 1, God created man, male and female, and the word and joined together, just like marriage joined in the New Testament. God is joined together. Well, and joins together male and female. And yet you don't have to be joined together, male or female.